Welcome to episode 6 of Jalen's Take, the show where I give my take on all the best pop culture of the week. We have had such a crazy week this week. We got so much to get into. To start us off, the first trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day dropped this week, and oh my gosh, this movie looks amazing. Or maybe it looks spectacular. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is back in this movie, and he's in the same place we saw him at the end of No Way Home. He's just alone by himself. I'm really happy to hear that. Like, that's really what I wanted to see in this film. But it does look like they're bringing back MJ and Ned for part of this movie, and I hope they don't play too big of a role. I was really looking forward to seeing Peter Parker on his own, or maybe even getting a new cast of characters in this film. But if we're still keeping the same cast of characters from the last 3 movies, then I guess that's fine. We're also gonna get to see a dynamic between Spider-Man and Punisher in this movie, and this looks really fun from this first trailer. We see Punisher trying to inject himself in some type of situation in New York, and Spider-Man immediately puts him in timeout and tells him to go home. I thought this scene was just so funny. It looks like in this movie, Peter Parker's gonna be mutating into Man-Spider. It looks like in this movie, Peter Parker is going to be going through some type of mutation. There's a scene where he wakes up in a full web cocoon, and then he even saves himself with what looks like organic webbing. I've always thought organic webbing in a way was cooler than Peter using a web shooter. So seeing him get organic webbing in this movie is really exciting. A lot of people also think they're going to take this mutation even further and do the 6-armed Man-Spider mutation. Seeing that in a live action MCU movie would be really fun. I kind of hope that's where this is going. There's even a scene where Peter walks up to Bruce Banner in this trailer, and he asks him about the mutation he's going through. There's a scene in this trailer where we see Peter at some type of house party, and at this house party there's MJ flirting with and kind of being all over with some other guy. A lot of people have been joking that this is Paul from the comics. I think it would be pretty funny if the MCU adapted Paul, seeing as how hated Paul is in the comics and by the comic book fandom. I hate Paul just as much as everyone else does in the comics, but honestly, if this stops Peter and MJ from getting together really quickly in the movies again, I'm all for it, man. I wanted at least one movie where Peter and MJ weren't together after what happened in No Way Home. If Paul is here to make that happen, then he's welcome in my book. We also get like one moment of Spider-Man fighting Scorpion, and I just gotta mention that because I'm so excited that we are finally seeing Scorpion again. Oh my gosh. The last time we saw this guy was in Homecoming back in 2017, and that was just way too long ago. All in all, Brand New Day just looks so freaking good, bro. I cannot wait for this movie. This movie looks like it's gonna be the best live action Spider-Man movie we got. Speaking of trailers this week, we got the Dune 3 trailer. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited for this one, man. Dune 3 has to be one of my most anticipated movies of the year. To start off my thoughts on this trailer, it opens up with Paul and Shawnee talking about their future child. Honestly, after the way the last movie ended, I did not think these two were gonna be all like lovey-dovey couple-y on each other. Dune Part 2 ended with Paul kind of betraying Shawnee in their dreams together. And I'm pretty sure I remember at the end of the movie, Shawnee pretty much like walked away from Paul and like his rule or whatever. So seeing these two together kind of shocked me, but they're cute, you know what I mean? I'm there for it. They're talking about their son Leto, which is a huge Easter egg for those who know. I'm not actually a book reader when it comes to Dune, but I know some of the lore and I've done a little bit of research, so I do recognize the name Leto and I know what that means. The next part of the trailer starts talking about the war that Paul has started, and Paul talks about how the war is feeding on itself and how every time he starts a fight, he just makes more enemies that end up fighting back. We also get a glimpse at Anna Taylor-Joy's character in this movie. She's meant to be playing Paul's sister. I think I read somewhere that she's pretty much just gonna be crazy and loyal to Paul, which is like one of my favorite like character combos. I love a character that's just absolutely insane but super loyal to one person, and that one person is her brother Paul, and Paul is the toughest character of all time. So I am anticipating this to be one of my favorite dynamics ever. I think Paul teaming up with his crazy psycho sister who's just gonna be loyal to him in all his endeavors, that's just gonna be so entertaining. I'm so hyped for that. And this war looks absolutely insane. We know from things they've said before that this war takes place pretty much across the entire universe, and like millions, or not millions, even billions of people die. We get a glimpse at Robert Pattinson's character in this movie as well. Honestly, I have no idea who this guy is. I don't know who Rob's playing here, but I'm happy to see Robert Pattinson, bro. Like, I like seeing Robert Pattinson in any movie, so I'm glad that he's here. We get a look at this army that looks like they're based off of samurai, and this is actually a really cool and interesting concept to me. We know that Arrakis and the Fremen are heavily based off of West Asia, so to see another army in this universe be based off of samurai, an Eastern Asian concept, I just thought that was super interesting. We gotta talk about the score in this trailer because oh my gosh, bro. Hans Zimmer mixed with Timothy Chalamet as Paul just screaming into the mic. Oh my goodness, bro. I'm ready to go to war, bro. I'm ready to fight the Empire. I said in last week's episode that Ludwig Göransson was probably gonna win another Oscar for The Odyssey, but Hans Zimmer's score in this trailer alone is crazy, bro. Like, now at this point, I don't know. Bro, Paul Atreides is just the toughest guy of all time, guys. Like, I'm so excited for this movie, bro. Like, when Dune 2 first dropped, I was so obsessed. I didn't know it was possible to have that much aura. Now we got Dune 3 coming, man. I just can't say it enough, bro. I can't wait. This week, the first 3 episodes of Invincible dropped. These episodes were so good, though. I actually really enjoyed them. In the very first episode of Invincible Season 4, we were introduced to a new character called Dinosaurus. Dinosaurus is one of my favorite characters from the comics, so it was super cool to finally see him be introduced into the show. Dinosaurus is a character like the Hulk where he transforms based off of a certain emotion. Dinosaurus is a character like the Hulk where he transforms into a certain persona after provoking a certain emotion. But instead of anger like the Hulk, for Dinosaurus, it's extreme indifference. And instead of just being super angry like the Hulk, Dinosaurus really cares about environmentalism, so much to the point where he's willing to kill a lot of people just to save the planet in the future. So Dinosaurus pulls up on Mark saying that the more people you save, the more people you actually kill. And that's why these two are fighting in this first episode. Now this fight is really good or whatever, but I gotta point out just how bad of a hero Mark is getting at this point. And it's worse than him just deciding, oh, should I kill this person or not? He is such a reckless hero, like, oh my goodness. He's fighting Dinosaurus in this abandoned city, just destroying buildings pointlessly. Now, obviously, he's not putting any lives in danger because the city's abandoned, but that doesn't mean people weren't gonna come live here after construction was over. There were literally construction workers at the scene before the fight started. They were trying to fix this area so people could move back here. And Mark just made it 100 times worse when he didn't need to in this fight, just destroying buildings for no reason. He even almost killed the innocent guy that turns into Dinosaurus, but luckily the Guardians of the Globe were there to stop him. We also gotta talk about Paul and Debbie, bro. Their relationship is genuinely so cute, like I can't get past it. They improved Paul so much from the comics too. I actually really like Paul. They made him so likable. He's such a good guy. And they've also made Debbie's character so well, and her character growth without Nolan being on Earth has been amazing. Whatever happens, I am on Paul's team. I'm on Paul's side, bro. Paul's been such a great guy to Debbie. I like to see the good guy win every now and then, man. Hopefully when Omni-Man comes back to Earth, he don't get too involved, if you know what I'm saying. And at the end of episode 1, we see another Sequid invasion, and there's a moment where Mark has the final guy in the Sequid invasion, but instead of curing this guy like he's done with every other person during this invasion, he decides this one needs to die and he kills him. Now his justification for doing this is that the dome wouldn't have been able to hold any longer and the Sequids would have escaped to infect more people. But I genuinely just don't buy this. I definitely think there was enough time to save this last guy. All Mark would have had to do is grab the body just like he's done with every other person and then use his super speed to fly him towards Bulletproof, who had the disruptor, who could have ended up helping and saving the day, bro. But instead, Mark is just in his brooding era. He's in his bad hero era where he just doesn't care anymore. So he just kills the guy. This is sparking a lot of debate online. Everyone's talking, should Mark have killed this guy? Should he not have killed this guy? I definitely think he didn't have to kill him. There's definitely another way. This makes everyone at the end of the episode start to doubt Mark even more. They're like, whoa, Mark didn't have to kill that guy. Like, that was kind of interesting. Like I said, we got 3 episodes at the beginning of this season, and episode 2 is probably my favorite one. This episode was Nolan's origin story on Viltrum. In this episode, we see Viltrumite culture. We see how extreme and violent it is. We see how much of it is based off of nothing but just pure strength. Whoever is the strongest get to survive. If you're weak, they're getting rid of you. There's a scene that opens up where young Nolan, who looks just like Mark, by the way, almost identical. Young Nolan is teaching these kids the Viltrumite ways. And I don't even remember what the question was, but he asked this little girl a question and he puts his hand on her head, implying that if she gets the question wrong, he's going to crush her head. This scene made me so tense. I was so nervous for this little girl. I'm glad she got the question right, even though I guess it means she was probably gonna grow up to become some evil Viltrumite super murderer. This is where it all starts. This is also where we see the Scourge virus take place, wiping out the majority of the Viltrumites. I think this scene was meant to be set up to make us kind of feel bad for the Viltrumites, but I did not feel bad at all. I was watching this scene with a blank face, with a blank stare, like, yup, that's what y'all get. We also get a scene in this episode where young Nolan is fighting his parents at the age of 18. It must be some like Viltrumite cultural like passage to adulthood or something like that. But in this scene, we get tons of parallels between Nolan and Mark and Nolan and his own parents. We see how Nolan's mom is just ruthless and merciless, just beating into Nolan the same way that Nolan was was beating into Mark. But then we also see how Nolan's father shows him mercy and actually does show that he cares about him in some weird way, the same way that Nolan did in the finale with Mark. I love how the Invincible series just constantly shows that there is a differentiation between nurture and nature. But for the rest of this episode, we see Nolan and Alan go all around the universe looking for the different things that can harm Viltrumites. We see them go to the Ragnar planet and fight a couple Ragnars. We see them fight Space Racer as well. Finally, we also get the scene where Thaddeus shows Nolan the Scourge virus and tells him that he's going to use it as an absolute last resort if he has to. Episode 2 ends with Conquest going back to Thrag, and this is finally where we get our Thrag reveal. Thrag's just going to be ore farming this whole season, bro. And episode 3 is kind of a big episode where we get some important story development happening. In this episode, the Flaxen invasion happens again, where these same characters that invaded in season 1 come back to invade again, but in their universe, time moves differently. So for them, it was 1,000 years, even though for the Invincible universe, it was only a few years, I think, maybe like 2. But the Flaxens returned and they came back stronger. Of course, they were beating Invincible's ass. Everybody beats Invincible's ass at some point in the show, bruh. And in order to defeat the Flaxen invasion this time, instead of Omni-Man flying through the portal, completely destroying the Flaxen civilization, instead we get Robot and Monster Girl running through the portal to fight them alone. And unfortunately, the portal closed behind them, leaving Robot and Monster Girl in that dimension for who knows how long. Now, I am a comic reader, so I do know how this ends, and this is one of my favorite arcs in the entire show. As a matter of fact, Robot is one of my favorite characters in the entire series, so I'm super excited to see where his character comes after this event. The same dragon that showed up last season that almost killed Mark came back in this episode, but this time he was fighting Oliver. And why was Oliver low-key doing better against this guy than Mark did? Mark like almost instantly lost last season when he fought this dragon guy, and even though Oliver wasn't completely fighting back the entire fight, he lasted much longer than Mark did. And then when Mark got there to back him up, he jumped right back in the fight like he wasn't even hurt. I've actually really been enjoying Oliver's character these first 3 episodes. He's been such an improvement in the show than he was in the comics. He's just so likable and reasonable. He was such a little brat in the comics and so irritating. So I'm so glad that they've actually improved Oliver's character in the show. These first 3 episodes of Invincible have just been so good. I cannot wait to see where the show goes, man. I think the next episode is actually an original story as well. It was not something that was included in the comic, so it'll be the first time that I see what happens in the next episode, so I'm actually really excited for that. What's your guys' take on all the stuff that dropped this week? We had so much stuff to talk about. Make sure to let me know your take down in the comments.